let's talk a little bit more about that claims number that we got this morning. And we talked about it just a bit with Tom O'Halloran, Democratic representative from Arizona. But it clearly highlights that the economy remains in dire straits. And I think, Julie, is a reminder that, Jay Powell is not just saying it to say it when he says that the virus leads the economy and that the economy will not kind of enjoy a sustained recovery until the virus is under control. And I know that it kind of gets lost on people because in some places you walk outside, it seems like there's nothing going on, but clearly the impacts remain, and they are now accelerating as we get into the winter. And we still have 3 more months of that, at least in this part of the country.
Yeah, I mean, and the virus is rising most swiftly in places like Arizona, right? So we talked to that congressman, but I believe I saw a stat this morning that the rate of case increase in Arizona is the fastest that it is anywhere in the world, not even just in the United States. And so, yes, it's really tied up with that 965,000 claim number that's the highest it's been since August. It also, of course, ties back into political arguments, right? You have President-elect Joe Biden, who will be speaking to the nation tonight, outlining his plan. It sounds like both to combat COVID and also to combat COVID knock-on economic effects. And a number like this and the jobs report that we got last week, both of them give credence and give support to his argument that we need a package like that to still take us through the breach, especially since the vaccine rollout has been not as robust and not as fast as had been hoped and anticipated. So, all of these stories, to your point, are almost one story.
And what this number does in any way really support, I think, here is that why is Wall Street looking for 16.5% year-over-year earnings growth in this current quarter? Now, that's a pretty large snapback compared to almost the 10% decline they expect in S&P 500 earnings from the fourth quarter. We'll get those earnings in a couple weeks, but nonetheless, Myles, and I think this is something you can appreciate, 16.5% earnings growth expected in the first quarter. The Street's almost looking for 25% earnings growth for the full year. When you see a jobless claims numbers like that, doesn't square with that, and it definitely doesn't square with a market multiple about 24, 25 times right now, which is at a record high.
Well, and also we all know that earnings expectations tend to come down over the course of the year. And as they stand right now, expectations for 2021, depending on the exact estimate you look at, if they came through as expected, would actually end up being a record for S&P earnings. Now, obviously, the multiple in the market is going to remain higher because the market itself, the price level is at a record high. But the earnings power of S&P 500 companies, by some estimates, could hit a record in 2021. And as you note, Sozzi, even each week, each day that we go by with a slow vaccine rollout, those expectations certainly become more challenged. And I know, circling back to the comments you highlighted from Ed Bastian, sustained rebound this year, that's great. But when we also have vaccinations coming in at 15%, 20% of what the anticipated pace was, or at least the marketed pace was going to be, it certainly leaves some questions there. And we know Joe Biden is going to say 100 million vaccines in 100 days. That is going to be his main priority. Whether that comes through, I think, really answers a lot of these outstanding questions that, as you note, the market has provided its own answer to, but that certainly remains subject to future revisions.